Hey there, Jim and Cindy here from OUTAPocket. Today we've got a very interesting and exciting video that we're looking forward to doing.
With the summer winding down, we're looking forward to traveling a bit and supporting our son as crew at some of his ultra-endurance races. So for that, we're going to need
A roof rack, a ladder, and an awning. This is something we've been looking at doing for a while. We finally pulled the trigger. So the video today is going to be about putting the roof rack on, but also looking at how specifically it works with the pocket itself.
Right, so it's not going to be really a how-to to put it on, although you're going to see some of that. The manufacturer has a great how-to video already online. This is going to be very much something more specific to the pocket and some of the unanswered questions that we really couldn't figure out when we were evaluating what to get.
That's right, because this roof rack is made for the Promaster van series, not specifically for the pocket. The one that we chose to go with is from Flatline Van Company. I've seen these on some vans. I think they look really cool. It's a lower profile rack, so it's not so high and sticking up. We did also look at a roof rack from Orion, which makes one specifically for the pocket, but that was a larger footprint. It really kind of stood out, and it was more expensive. So decided to go with this one, but there are some unanswered questions regarding how this works with the pocket. Do the rails fit in all the default locations? How much space is there on each side of the air conditioning unit and the vent? Because once you have a roof rack on there, there's a number of things you can do in addition to providing an easy way to mount the awning. You can expand your solar capacity, and in the winter, if you get snow on top, having the ladder, you can get up there and clear that off a lot more easily. So that's the plan for today.
All right, let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Okay, so we laid out all the parts for the roof rack that we're going to install first. One of the boxes did arrive a little banged up, delivered by FedEx. We haven't had the best luck with FedEx. FedEx is also the company that dropped off our two e-bikes at the end of the driveway while we were on a vacation hold. But in any case, one of the boxes was banged up. It didn't look like it was much of a problem, but this wind fairing that goes in the front did have an impact. You can see that kind of bend in it. And then one of the side rails here did take a little bit of an impact and has a little bit of a bend to it. I don't know if you can see that there, a little bit of a bend right on the end there. So I just spent the last hour chatting with Flatline Van Company. They were totally good, and they're going to be sending out replacement pieces right away, 2-day shipping. I think we're going to proceed with the install anyway. I don't think the side rail will be too much of a problem with that little bend, and maybe we'll leave the fairing off and install the fairing when the new one comes in. This roof rack, as well as the one from Orion, installs without any drilling. So the key to that are these 6 little pins, little nubbins that are on the van. So the way these brackets work, you can see the shape of that, is you put carriage bolts in the bottom, and it comes with this hardware. Then you slide this over that nubbin from the inside of the van to the outside, and then this thing goes on top, and that'll all cinch tight, and the roof rack rails will go along these things. So first thing to do is to get these in place so we can put the rails on. Okay, so they recommend you install these from the inside to the outside like this. But when I put the bolts in this one, I can't do that. It hits this ridge here, which includes some sealant. So if I try to do that, it won't go down enough because of the heads of the bolts. So this one, I guess I'm going to turn around and have to install that way. So we'll see if that happens on any of the others.
we can't help ourselves. We're going to install the fairing. Anyway, we're just going to replace it when the good one comes in. And as we were putting together the brackets with the hardware, we noticed, as all of these have this nice right angle, this one doesn't. And as much as I'd like to blame this on FedEx, I don't see how they did this. We're going to straighten it out before we put it in. So when I was putting these assembly brackets together, the T brackets have got a raised edge on one side where it was drilled out, and I thought it would be great to have them facing in so that there's no chance of anything getting scratched in the finish. Problem is, when I go to feed this into the channel it's supposed to go in, it's too tight. That little raised lip is not leaving enough room for it to slide terribly well. So what I ended up doing is turning them around so that the flared end is on the outside, so that when I put it in, and I want to make sure I'm putting this in correctly, which I wasn't, so there you go. So when you feed it in, it feeds in smoothly. Just a little tip to make things go a little easier. We also discovered that the measurements they provide in the instructions when they say that the brackets are supposed to be 12 inches from the end are not accurate for what we received. Our brackets ended up needing to be at about 11 1/4. Now, perhaps some of these are a little bit different depending on what you get, so just make sure you're measuring in equally from each side so it won't be crooked.
We've got everything together. It's kind of still loosely bolted. None of the stuff's tightened down. The fairing, I mean, was a lot of work actually. Especially we figured out we had the bracket wrong, but that's together. It is touching the van here where it's bent, and it's above the van and the other spots. So I'm just going to cinch it down like that for now until the replacement comes in. So now I'm going to go through. I'm going to tighten everything up. I'm going to use Loctite on these screws on the crossbars because there are no type of nylon locking washers or anything on those. Okay, so everything's tightened up, installed. It's pretty much done at this point. I'll say as far as putting this rack on the Solis Pocket, the only thing that was disappointing was the fit of this rear crossbar. That it's so close. I mean, literally, if they just extended this rail by 1 inch to 1.5 inches, that would make the difference. But it's on there with one screw through the rail. It's actually pretty solid. The second screw does catch the edge. So I'll say that's really the only issue. But now I do want to take some measurements. Oh, and the other thing I realized was when we put the ladder on, I'm looking at there's some pitch on my solar panel. So that'll also be really useful when I go to the car wash and come up the ladder and scrub that stuff off. But if you're looking to put accessories, skis here, or extra solar panels, I wanted to know how much space was here. Looks like we have maybe 15.5 inches of width to work with. And then these panels, these crossbars, are about 44 inches long. So looking at the, and you could probably move it in a little bit to get a little shorter, maybe 40 inches. Looking at the ZAMP panels that would fit right into the ZAMP system on this Pocket, they do make panels that are 14.3 inches wide and 13.6 inches wide. But you have either 59 inches or 31 inches. 59 inches would be too much. 31 inches is only going to be about there. So I don't think you can put, at least not the ZAMP panels, on each side of the air conditioner with this roof rack and setup. Here, from a width perspective, we've got 21 inches, up to 21 inches across. Crossbars, and you could go a little longer than this even, up to this one if you had to. You know, you've got 31 inches. So ZAMP makes a panel that's 14 inches by 31.6 inches. So if you move this one a little bit, or this, well, that one's stuck, so you move this one a little bit, and you could put a ZAMP panel on each side. Those are 45 watts each. So you could add 90 watts of power. This one is 160 plus 90, so you could easily upgrade this to 250 watts. Put a panel on each side, and in fact the connector for the extra solar panels is right there, and there are 2 open sockets for the ZAMP panel. So that's probably the best solar upgrade to do with this setup, would be to put the 2 45 watt panels here, and you'd boost your capacity by like 50%, even a little more. So I think that would be a really good upgrade to do one of these days. In the meantime, we'll use the back area for skis. I think that should work. And excited to have the roof rack. Okay, so the other question I had before we got this roof rack that they were able to answer more or less was, how high does this stick up off the van? When we pull into our garage, we have a big beam, and it goes, front of the van goes underneath it, but it would hit the air conditioner. So I wanted to make sure that this wasn't too high. And if I look at this, I'd say it's pretty much about the same height as the Max Air fan when it's closed. Maybe it's even just a hair lower, so there's no problem from a height perspective with this roof rack in the front of the van. That will fit our garage just fine. The install is done. I actually think it looks pretty cool on the van. I'm really happy with how it looks. What did you think about the install process?
I thought it was fairly straightforward. It was perfectly fine for 2 people to do it. Only took a few hours. The pieces were light. The instructions were, for the most part, straightforward. The hardest part, I think, was the fairing.
Yeah. We probably spent half our time on the fairing.
Because we put everything in upside down and backwards. Like, if you had a choice, we did it wrong.
Yeah, we had the brackets in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Obviously, the fairing that we did put on is bent and damaged, but at least we've been through the process now, so when the new one comes in, should be able to switch this one out pretty quick. I'm really happy that we can do, a 90-watt solar upgrade very easily.
That's exciting.
To the van and put that on the roof rack.
And a place we might be able to put our skis that we discovered we'd like to have.
So we think we're going to wrap this one up. Next time we'll put on the ladder and the awning, and that'll complete the upgrades that we want to do before our big trip.
So thank you for watching. As always, if you found this of worth and useful to you, please feel free to like and subscribe.
Till next time.
Till next time.
Have a good one.